Hello and welcome to the Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Rosemary Brown, and I'm joined today with Ryan Lohman, who is pretty new to her position in regards to the Shared Housing Pilot Program in Monroe County. So, and we also have Monroe and Pike County and Wayne County, I believe, as well. So we're going to talk a little bit, but right now I think you're responsible for Monroe County, correct?
I'm the Monroe representative, as I live in Monroe County. I live in Tannersville, so it's nice to be right in the heart of my county and seeing what I can do to help.
Which is great. And so although we're talking about, you know, your responsibility with Monroe County, we also have the availability for people to get involved in this program for Pike and for Wayne County as well.
Yes.
So we are looking at a 3-year pilot program,
correct,
which was funded by the state, which was wonderful, to help support this and see how it can be utilized by the people that live here. So as we continue our conversation, I think for many of the viewers watching, we know that housing can be very difficult, and depending on finances and especially as people's lives change, and you know, whether as they age or circumstances change in their life, there could be a need for a change in housing and some of the costs involved with that as well. And we know we're in a higher cost location for housing. So that's one of the reasons why this program really was something that we supported, and we're really happy to have you doing your position and seeing how this works over the next couple of years. So I'm going to give you a little bit opportunity to talk to the viewers and tell them exactly what the shared housing program is.
Okay. Good morning. I'm very happy to be here. The program that I work for is called the Share Housing and Resource Exchange. Now, what does that mean? We consider it a choice program where, when in life do you actually get to choose who you live with, or choose, you know, the situation that you're going to be in. It's a family of choice. What happens is we look for individuals who have a spare room to rent in their home, and we match them up with an individual who's looking for a below market value type of rental situation. It gives people time to get back on their feet. Now, in addition, the pilot is backed by the Department of Aging, and what that means is we have one stipulation to the program: there must be at least one member who's 60 or older. So once that requirement is met, it's open to anyone 18 and over. So the person of 60 or over could be the homeowner or the home sharer. It doesn't matter, it works either way.
And that's a good point, because I was not even aware of that as well. So, and I think as we start to get further into this conversation, let's talk about the first piece, which is if you're the homeowner. So if you're the homeowner and you're watching today and you're saying, I have room for other people to live in my home with me, and maybe you might like that, or you might consider doing that. How does that person, and how does that work as far as the stipulations and things?
When somebody contacts me, what I do is I explain the program, and then we take a time to sit down. I prefer to go to their home if possible. That way I can at least feel the environment that we're talking about. When we get there, you know, first I'll take a visual and see whether or not the home is right for the program. The home has to be habitable. It has to be safe. It needs to be welcoming. You know, you want somebody, moving is a very stressful situation. We really look to try and have this be a long-term situation. We don't want to have people bouncing back and forth. So we really try to make sure that this is the best situation for both parties. So once we take a look around the house and make sure that it would be a good host home, we sit down and we go over an application. Now, what the application does is it actually gives me the opportunity to understand the person and understand what their circumstances are. The only requirement for a host is that they need to have a spare bedroom for the sharer to have. Once the sharer has their own bedroom, they would share a bathroom and all the common areas, such as the kitchen, the living room, the laundry room. You know, some people have better situations where they have their own bathroom, but it really is a share program. When we go through the application, the questions on the application are things, we get to know a person's nationality. Now, why would we do that? Well, maybe we have somebody coming in that's going to cook for them, and the person's interested, well, what kind of spices do they like? We really get into detailed things. Would you rather live with a gentleman or a female? Smoker or non-smoker? Are you okay with pets? Is there an age range that you feel that you would be more comfortable with? If the homeowner is under 60, obviously we have to partner them up with somebody over the age of 60. But if they themselves are over the age of 60, the matches are endless. We could put in a student, we could put somebody, a single mother with their child, or somebody over the age of 60 if they're looking for a true companionship situation. And we also go over common interests and hobbies. Do you like to sew? Do you like to watch sports, board games? Because what we do is we really try and find people that mirror each other in what their common interests are. Because we've found that by taking the time to do that, we have less of a turnover. So
you're really doing your interviewing skills,
yeah,
as far as really getting to know someone.
We really do. Each time I sit with a person, it's anywhere from an hour and a half. I really want to understand the person and understand their circumstances. Even before I delve into the application itself, I just have a short talk with them. Like, let me know a little bit about you. Let me know what your situation is. And that way I can kind of understand which way we're going. Because it is a very vulnerable situation, and I understand that.
Well, I think, there's a lot of questions to, well, this is something new, this is different, and how would I be comfortable, would I not be comfortable?
Yes.
Would I really know this person until you really get to know the person? Maybe people are even thinking if there's background checks done.
Yes. Since you brought up background checks, what we do is we do the due diligence for everybody. Some people will rent a room on Craigslist, but what we do is we actually take the time to interview the person. I'm almost giving them my own personal seal of approval, because I wouldn't want anybody to enter into our program that isn't a safe fit. So once I meet the person and I feel like they would be a good either host or a sharer, we do criminal background checks on both people. We also do personal reference checks. We also do a professional reference check. And in the case of the renter, we do 2 reference checks for rental history.
So that's great. So they can feel like this confidence to the best of your ability to make sure that they have as much information for safety and everything else as well. Because I'm sure that's what a lot of people will be thinking as they even contemplate or think about it and if the situation would work. So that's great. So that contract, that interview first, and then a contract phase would be the next step after
Even
that?
before we get to the contract phase, what we do is once we find somebody that we think would be a good match, we do an introduction. I like to go along, do a nice warm handoff. We talk amongst ourselves, find out, if we really feel like these 2 people could live together. Once we decide that, yes, they do have common interests and they want to proceed forward, we do a trial period. So we would have the sharer come and stay for maybe a weekend, maybe a week, whatever they feel is necessary. And even after they stay for a weekend, if they feel they want to extend the trial period just to make sure, we can do that too.
And either end can extend that trial period. So so it's not just the homeowner or the renter.
Correct.
It could be either end. Well, that's nice, because what situation do you have where usually things are such a trial
Exactly.
that you have that chance to say, okay, this isn't going to work?
Yeah, we're not entering right into a contract. We like to do a trial period first. After the trial period has been completed, then we get back together with each party and we decide, they let me know what their honest feedback is, whether they think they really could live in this situation, did they get along with the person, and then if there is a mutual agreement, then we proceed on to the contract. If there isn't a mutual agreement, then we would look for somebody else.
That's great. That's great. So that's the first stage, and you're acquiring right now, which is great. So you're getting some homes right now that people are interested.
We are. It's really exciting. In Monroe County right now, we have 12 homes available for a rental situation. These homes range anywhere from up in Tobyhanna, Pocono Summit. We have some in Tannersville, quite a few in East Stroudsburg, a couple in Saylorsburg. So it's really all over the place. And then we also have just started getting some sharers or some renters. We have about 13. Now, just because we have homes and we have sharers doesn't mean we have a match.
Right.
So it's almost like a dating process. You know, we
Right.
really want to make sure that they're going to be a good match. And then my counterpart, Larissa Yusko, up in Pike and Wayne, she has, in Pike County, she has 8 homes available and 5 sharers. And then in Wayne, she has 3 homes available and 1 sharer right now.
That's great. And so, yeah, the more people you get, the more flexibility in
Yes.
the matching and the more homes. But it is nice to hear of all the different locations, because if somebody wants to be more of a rural nature, if they want to be more in town,
Exactly.
if there's something available, there's those choices as well. So that's great. So the housing portion of acquiring the house to, someone who wants to rent,
Right.
is very nice to hear that. It could be a trial period, background checks, a lot of qualifications and kind of history there. And then if they wanted to go forward, they can then do a contract,
Correct.
which is more long-term. So why is it below market value?
So because the sharers or the renters that are coming into a situation where they're looking for below market value, in order to make up the difference, they may look to exchange resources, or like we say, chores. An older person may have trouble mowing the lawn or taking the garbage out, or cooking. I have some gentlemen that no longer drive any longer, and they're looking for somebody to take them to the store and take them to church. So with that, there's also, when we do the contract, we put the resources that are looking to be exchanged right into there. So everybody knows in black and white what their expectations and responsibilities are, so there's no question.
And that's wonderful. And I think one of the points earlier that we were talking about is the fact that there only has to be one person over 60. So the Department of Aging is very much behind this, but it's also an overall housing resource and assistance to help people with affordable housing and to live comfortably.
Yes.
So that's pretty interesting, and that piece of it where you could have different dynamics in a household helping and doing things for one that the other can't do, and sort of sharing the household responsibility is a huge benefit.
Absolutely. It's an old concept that we're just bringing back. I mean, people took in boarders for years. This is a way for us to help with the housing crisis right now. It's what we say is this is a way for our seniors to age in their homes longer, rather than moving on to a personal care home, assisted living, skilled nursing. It allows them to stay in their homes longer by bringing in somebody who will share the companionship, who will give them a sense of security, who will help around the house. It really gives them the opportunity to regain their life. And a lot of people are just sitting in their houses watching TV, really not doing a lot. But by bringing somebody in, it brings back the spark in their life. It really does, that they're looking for.
Yeah. Well, especially if they don't have any family close by or around, it really creates a whole family environment.
Absolutely.
Again, in their household. So socially, and it is such a benefit as well as financially.
Absolutely.
So we can talk more about that. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with the legislative report. Does the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania have your money? I'm State Representative Rosemary Brown. The State Treasury Department's Bureau of Unclaimed Property is looking for the owners of more than $2 billion in cash and unclaimed property, currently in the custody of the state. To find out if you or a member of your family is entitled to any unclaimed property, visit www.patreasury.gov. If you can prove ownership, the property will be returned to you free of charge. Welcome back to the Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Rosemary Brown, joined with Ryan Lohman with the Shared Housing Pilot Program that we're doing here in Monroe County, Pike County, and Wayne County. So Ryan, thank you again.
Thank you.
And right before the break, we were talking a little bit about the real benefits, excuse me, of people sharing their homes and having different types of people, in their home, creating sort of a family environment and the social benefits of that as well. So I'm going to let you kind of keep talking about that and some of why that is so important.
Yeah, we really call it a family of choice. We're giving each person the opportunity to pick their dream renter or their dream family member ultimately. You know, and then it also allows for the senior not to feel as lonely, not to feel as isolated. It gives them the companionship that they're looking for. And it does as well for the renter that's coming in. You know, people that are in situations where they need to find housing quite quickly, you know, they might be looking for something. And by putting them together with a senior, they might be looking for the piece that they were missing.
Yeah, it's, as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking about the whole rental situation and how difficult that is to find a renter. And this is just such a resource because you do so much of the background, so much of the getting to know the person and trying to match up people that you don't have with the Craigslist, you don't have with the rental market, the normal rental market. If you're watching and you're trying to say, hey, I have this larger house or I have this extra room and I'd love to have somebody here, even if I don't see them all the time, but there's, you know, a presence with you in your home. But this is such a resource to do all that checking and that matching and to try to make sure that it really hopefully would work.
Absolutely.
And that trial period that we talked about earlier in the show, that the trial period is just amazing. So if you could do that initial trial period and then extend out the trial period before you go into the contract, I think that's very important for people watching.
Absolutely. We want to make sure that everybody's entering into this contract or into this situation with eyes wide open and they know what they're getting into. In addition to that, myself and Larissa, we stay on as housing counselors. So what that means is if there's any, you know, people don't always get along. There might be some conflict resolution that might need to come up. Maybe somebody left the dishes in the sink a little bit too long. You know,
it's like a college story, right?
Yes. We always try to, you know, have the parties, you know, talk it out first. But in the case that they can't talk it out or they're not comfortable talking it out, that's when Larissa and I would get involved and we would try to mediate the situation. You know, once we mediate the situation, hopefully everything goes back to, you know, business as usual. But during the course of the rental period, we also stay in contact with them monthly. We check in to make sure everything's going okay, if they have any questions. And the contract can also be continually revised. If as they're living together, they find that maybe it would be more helpful if they did an extra chore or, you know, maybe they would knock $50 off the rent if they picked up another responsibility, we can continually revise the contract to make both parties comfortable.
So it can adjust as time goes on based on the situation and based on the needs.
Absolutely.
Which is just another benefit as well.
Yeah.
So the rental agreements and the financial discussions of what rent will be, you know, if I had the home and I had a room or two, the rents and that whole discussion of is that the normal process?
It is the normal process. When I do the applications with both parties, I take into account what their monthly income source is. Right now, a lot of them, their income source is Social Security. Right. Or they have a lower income source. So based on that and what their monthly income is, I can take 30% of that because they're only required to pay 30% of what their monthly income is and calculate what they would be able to offer somebody or offer a host. And that's just another piece of the criteria that I add in when I'm doing the match program to see if I have somebody that's willing to take that amount. In the instance, I'm finding that I have a lot of hosts that are very flexible. You know, as much as the financial piece is important because it might be a way that they pay their taxes or have some extra income, they're really concerned about making sure that they're entering into a good living situation. So if they give it to me that if I feel that I've found the person that really would be a good match to them, but they're not able to come to the table financially with what they initially required, they will talk to them, and if the match is strong enough, if the you know the camaraderie, if they feel comfortable enough, they'll consider taking a lower amount. I mean, not everybody's in this for financial reward or financial gain. People really are out there for companionship and security.
Right, it's a mix of everything, which is nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's flexibility there too,
Absolutely.
which is another workable type of you know addition to the whole program.
Yeah, and it's really nice to see that people, you know, really aren't just out to make an extra buck on this program. They're really here to make it, you know, beneficial for both parties, and they want everybody to to wind up in a good
It's just really
situation.
interesting, and I think that's why when we were talking about doing a program with you, just so that the community, because I think it's still very much becoming known.
Yes.
It's a fairly new, it's only been a couple months since the grant actually kind of went through. What's it been?
We were hired at the end of June. We trained for the month of July, and we've been on the road starting the beginning of August. So
Right.
maybe 2 months.
Right, and we want this to do well.
Absolutely.
So that this way it can continue, and right now it's a pilot program for 3 years. As far as the resources of having you both, running the program and doing the matches and everything
Yes.
like that. So, now are there any income restrictions to qualify at all? I don't believe so from
There
what
are
we're
not.
saying. Okay.
There's no income restrictions. The only request is that the host, the person that owns the house, has to have some form of income other than the rental. So they don't want the person to be dependent upon the rental for their livelihood. So that's the only income
That's for the
requirement.
stability for the household in
Yes,
general.
absolutely.
To make sure that the living environment
Yes.
can remain.
That's the only income requirement. When it comes to the other party, the party that's coming in to share the home, their income can be whatever, but they're only responsible for
30%.
spending 30% of what their income is.
Right. And that's pretty much your budgeting basic guideline
Yes.
of how much you spend for housing.
housing.
Yeah, and in a basic household.
Yes.
Now so we talked a good amount about both sides of this agreement, but we did focus a little bit more on the person who has the house
Yes.
and who's willing to have people come in. Let's talk about the renter, the person looking to join in to the
Yes.
house. And so we've talked about what they're only required to pay up to 30% of their income, and trying to match up so that all plays the same role.
Yes.
You still would do all the interviewing and everything on that side as well.
Correct.
So it's you have to do both sides so the match happens correctly.
Absolutely.
Is there recruiting and marketing for trying to find these renters? I mean, what we're doing today
This
is
will be
really
helpful.
It's helpful so people
Yeah.
get to know and they can say, wow, this is an option for me for housing, to maybe see if I can find somebody. I mean,
Yeah.
they could always say no if it doesn't work or if they don't think there's a match, but how do you recruit for this and how do you find the renters?
We have been very lucky. Larissa and myself have done a lot of interagency marketing and marketing amongst our peers in the community, and the referrals have been flowing. We have had some press up in Pike County, and this will be very helpful. But right now, it's a word of mouth situation. We've been handing out brochures and putting up posters at libraries. We want to get into churches and speak to the congregations. We've been fortunate. We've marketed to all the senior centers in all 3 counties. So that was beneficial. We've spoken at agency meetings. We've done in-services for other agencies. We've just been very lucky to this point that people are really excited about the program and they're really getting behind it.
Yeah, and I would think that, because again, with the age limits even going to under 60,
Yes.
as long as there's the one person who's 60 and older in the house, that this could really be, like you said, interagency.
Yes.
Many referrals from all across the
Yeah,
counties
I mean,
because they could come from anywhere.
I've gotten referrals from CareerLink. I've gotten referrals from United Way. I've gotten referrals from the Agency on the Blind. They're coming from all over the place.
Right.
Our AAAs, our agencies on aging, they're a very big support system to us. So we're very fortunate.
Yeah, it's wonderful. The community is very tied together like that, which is
Yes.
great in many ways. So now, Pennsylvania, or any other states doing this?
They have
besides-
done it in another state, but Pennsylvania is the only one that's doing it right now. It's not to say that it'll be restricted to the 3 counties, but right now we're focusing on the 3 counties. As things progress and we see more success, we may be looking to expand. But right now the pilot is just for our 3 counties.
Right, so there's no place else in Pennsylvania that's doing
No.
this but our 3 counties.
Our 3 counties.
Which is really amazing. But I think it does show you that the need
Absolutely.
for joint housing is there because of not only financial stretches, but there's some other, there's a lot of a commuter population, there's a lot of senior population, so you have a little bit of everything here that can work.
Yeah.
What do you think the fears of people watching? We've talked a lot about the interviewing process and all of that. But I know if I was watching this and I hadn't met with you before and I hadn't known the program and I didn't know, the underlying factors of trying to really help people, I think people hopefully will be getting that watching this show. But what do you think you could kind of do to what they might be thinking as far as the negatives to even help them more say, maybe I should really consider this, or I know somebody who would be a renter, or my house is 3 bedrooms and my children are all moved out, and I'm by myself, and what do you think you could tell them that would help them?
I understand that this is a very vulnerable situation that people are considering. So what I do is try to take as much time as needed to make them feel comfortable and really make them understand that everybody will be under criminal review. We will check all the references. I wouldn't put anybody in your home that I wouldn't put in my home. So I'm really standing behind the match. As far as people coming in to rent, it's very important that they're willing to keep an open mind and help with resources and understand that somebody is letting them into their homes, and they need to be appreciative and respectful. And it's really, people really just need to keep an open mind and ask as many questions as you feel comfortable with. I've met with families, I've had phone calls with relatives, anything I can do to make the situation
up and beyond like the person who's
up and beyond the initial, because it may be a senior that's entering into it, however their child may have power of attorney, or I'm sure you would want to make sure that your mom or dad is entering into a safe situation, so I'm sure you're going to have questions, and I know that. I'm ready, willing, and able to answer as many questions as possible.
So now I know we just started this and we're getting close to the end of the show, but so have you hooked up people yet at this point, because it's only been a couple months?
It's only been a couple months. We have done our first initial introduction and trial period. We're in the process of extending the trial period. So we're optimistic, and I'm very fortunate, and I know Larissa is too. I get between 5 and 6 calls a week. I had 2 more hosts come on yesterday and 3 more renters this week. So we're continuously adding to our database and our pool of people.
Right, so it's only going to keep growing at this point.
It's only going to keep growing, and it's only a matter of time until our matches really start populating.
And they have you as a resource.
Yes.
So this is not the end all if something doesn't work, if something doesn't fit. That's important for the viewers to know.
We might want to touch on that real quick. There are what I say backdoor exits out of the contract. If you get into the contractual situation and you're a couple months down the line and you find out this really, even though we did our trial period and we did everything we were supposed to do, it's just really not working out, we can have a 30-day eviction, and we find the person somewhere else to go. Okay. We assist in the eviction process. So
that's a nice confidence factor to help with the situation too.
Yeah, you had the backing of the shared housing program to help along the way.
So Ryan, before we close out, what's the best way for people to contact you?
The best way to contact me is my phone number, which is 570-832-0538, or you can email me at rlohman, Lohman, at pikepa.org.
Great. Great. Well, listen, and I thank you very much for your time today, and I think the viewers hopefully got a quick synopsis of the program and maybe something that they'll be able to utilize or someone else that they know can utilize. So thank you very much again. Thank you. Thank you for watching the Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Rosemary Brown. If you have any questions regarding this show or any other state-related matters, please feel free to contact my office.